Hi, everybody. Hope you're doing well today. It's good to talk to you. Doesn't sound like you're saying much, but gonna make the most of it anyhow here. Um, I see that a lot of you guys did your quiz. That's good. Some of you didn't yet. So if you haven't done it yet, just don't pay any attention to this video right now. Go ahead and do your quiz, then you can watch the video. All right. Um, but if you didn't get a perfect on your quiz, um, and you got 4 out of 5, that's 80%. So guess what? You need to retry your quiz. And I'm going to be very nice. I'm going to do all the questions on your quiz other than the first one because everybody got the first question right. So that is great. Well done, everybody. But I'm going to do the other 4 questions, and I'm just going to change one number up on your actual requiz that you're going to do. So you're going to have to redo the problems, but only one number is going to be different, except for the last problem, which it's going to be exactly the same. So if you just watch this video, there really is no reason why you shouldn't be able to get at least 4 out of 5, if not a perfect. All right, so here it goes. Let's talk about question number 2. So there's one with a decimal here. All right, so in all these equations here, the number one goal is to try to get the variable by itself, okay? And so you got to remember the steps, okay? So there's nothing to simplify on each side first. So the next step is to move the variables from one side to another, okay? And I'm moving this term right here, this 0.44x, because if I subtract it, I'm going to end up with a non-negative answer on the right side, okay? If I were to subtract the 1.69x, I would get a negative answer on this side. Now, it's not wrong to do it the other way, it's just a little more difficult. All right, so that's going to cancel out. I'm going to have 24 here, all right? And I'm going to bring down the 19, all right? I'm going to subtract those. So I'll end up with 1.9 minus 4 is 5, 6 minus 4 is 2. All right. And then you have a two-step equation. All right. And you guys have done many two-step equations. So here's one more. All right. So undo the plus with subtraction. 24 minus 19 is 5. Okay. So we have 1.25x equals 5. All right, and you divide by 1.25 and you get the answer of 4. Now I said you guys can use a calculator on your test, so you should be able to get this one right if you're using a calculator. All right, if you're not using the calculator, then it'd be a little bit more difficult, but you could probably still get that one right. All right, let's go on to the next one here. Hopefully. Okay, this one's a little bit trickier because you should do a step before you start moving your variables from one side to another, okay? You always want to try to simplify each side of the equation separately first, okay? 4y plus 6, you can't do anything on the right side. But on the left side, you have two terms, negative 3.5y and negative 4y. These two terms, because they have the same variable and they're on the same side, you can combine them, okay? And since they both have the same sign, when you're combining them, you are adding the numbers up, okay? So I know you might think that's subtraction, but when you're combining two terms that have the same sign, both negative or both positive, you add. When they have different signs, you subtract, okay? And you want to make sure to keep the sign the same. So you get negative 7.5y when you combine those. So you have 75 minus 7.5y equals 4y plus 6. All right. Now once again, you have a choice. Okay, you got to move your variables from one side to another. You can either subtract the 4y, okay, or and the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to add 7.5y. Okay, because I'm trying to avoid as many negatives in the problem as I can, because, you know, less negatives equals less room for mistake. All right, so bring down the 75 on the left side. We have 4y plus 7.5y. Okay, so that would be 4 plus 7, that's 11, so 11.5y. And then plus the 6. And guess what? A good old two-step here, all right? So subtract 6 from both sides, you'll get 69 equals 11.5y. If you divide 69, divide both sides by 11.5, you'll get hopefully the right answer. Now that doesn't quite look like what I had before, but we'll check it out here. 69 divided by 11.5, and the answer is 6. Okay, so I believe that is correct. All right, let's keep going here. Oh, before we keep going here, I just wanted to show you that it is 6. Okay, so you can prove that by taking your answer. You can do this on any problem. Okay, once you figure out what the answer is, take that number and plug it in for both the variables, actually all three of the variables, okay? And so you're comparing the left side of the equation to the right side of the equation. So if I plug in 6 for the negative 3.5y, it'd be negative 3.5 times 6 here. Okay, so I'm doing 75 minus 3.5 times 6 minus 4 times 6, because the 6 replaces the other y. I get 30. I plug it into the other side, I also get 30. And because I get the same number on both sides, they're equal. And that proves that this equation is true. So you always want to do that if you want to make sure that you are right, and I just made sure I was right. All right, let's do a word problem here. Naomi and Claire are planning a mural. Okay, so Naomi paints 2 square feet per hour, and she has already paid 16.5 square feet. Okay, so I could see right now that, Naomi, okay, is painting at a rate per hour. When it has per, that means to multiply, the rate by the time, which is the hours. Okay, and she's already painted this. So in essence, you are adding on something to the rate. Okay, so you're adding another 16.5. Claire is going faster per hour, but she has already painted less. How many hours will it take for Naomi and Claire to paint equal amount? All right, so your variable here is h for hours. You're trying to figure out how many hours for them to be equal. Okay, so the general thought of this equation is you want Naomi's painting square feet to equal Claire's painting square feet. All right, so if I had to represent Naomi, okay, so Naomi would be 2 square feet per hour. So remember that you always are multiplying when it is the rate. Okay, the rate that she's doing it at gets multiplied by the time she's doing it at. Okay, there's a famous equation that you might have heard of: distance equals rate times time. Okay, so you have the rate there, you need to multiply it by the time. Okay, and you add what she's already done. Okay, and then Claire, on the other hand, has a faster rate, but she has already done less. Okay, so there's your equation. All right, and then you just have to solve this equation correctly. It's not any different than all the other ones. Okay, so you just subtract 2h, because you want to try to isolate your variables on one side of the equation and turn it into a two-step. All right, so we subtracted 2h. All right, and now I'm going to show you here. There is, you can skip. I'm going to show you how to skip a step here, which I haven't done before. But you can also move your numbers, okay, away from the variables in the same step. So I'm going to subtract 7.5 as well here. Okay, so 16.5 minus 7.5 is equal to 9. Okay, so I have 4h minus 2h is equal to 2h. 2h is equal to 9. So I think I gave you a hint that this one could be a decimal on the test. And yes, it is. It takes 4.5 hours for them to be equal. And on to the last one. So this was the most missed question on the test. 4 people got it right. That's good, but not so good. So we better go over it pretty good here. All right, so it's pretty simple idea here. You got 2 candles burning down, okay? Red candle, it starts there, burns at this rate per hour. So once again, boom, multiply the rate times how many hours. Okay, blue candle has a 1/5 inch per hour rate. How many hours will it take to be the same height? All right, so both these word problems aren't really original. They're kind of like the same idea. You have a rate times a time. Okay, so we're trying to figure out how many hours for them to be equal. All right, so the key is the setup. You have to be able to set it up right, then you have to be able to deal with the fractions. Okay, a red candle is 8 inches tall and burns at this rate. Okay, so you're starting with 8. So the candle is 8 inches tall. So, you think about a candle. Here's the height of a candle. It's 8 inches tall. We're starting here. And it's burning. If the candle's burning, it's shrinking. So it's going down. So in essence, you are subtracting. Okay, you're subtracting how much it loses per hour times the number of hours. So 7/10 times h. All right. And the other candle is starting a little shorter, but it's subtracting less. 6 minus 1/5 h. Okay? So I don't know if it's the fractions or it is just the setup, but there you go. That's the setup for the equation. Now, how do we deal with these fractions? Well, probably the easiest way to deal with it here is because the denominators are actually kind of very similar. We're going to change them to be the same here. So first, let's make the denominators, because we're going to combine these two variable terms. We're going to make them both into 10. Okay, common denominator of 5 and 10 is 10. Least common denominator. So this 1/5 becomes 2/10 h. Alright, so this is a 7 here, in case you couldn't figure out what the heck that crazy little number was. Okay, so that's a 7/10, and you're subtracting 2/10. Alright, so you could decide which way you want to do it, but to avoid a negative, to make one less negative in the problem, I am going to add 7/10, because then I would have more positives over on this right side, okay? So I have negative 2/10 h plus 7/10 h. That will cancel out my variable term on the left. All right, so what is negative 2/10 h plus 7/10 h? All right, did I hear you say it? Oh, okay, it's 5/10 h. 7 minus 2 is 5. So you're subtracting because the signs are different. All right, so we got 6 plus, you have more positives, 5/10 h equals 8. All right, then it's a good old two-step. Okay, get rid of the 6, subtract it away. Whoops. 8 minus 6 is 2. So we have 5/10 h equals 2. All right, now if you want to, okay, it's up to you what you want to do here, but you can make 5/10 into a half, okay, and then it might be a little easier to see what to do. But if you didn't think to do that, you can multiply by the reciprocal here, because that's how you undo multiplication of a fraction in a variable. So you're multiplying both sides by 5, or the reciprocal of 5/10, which is 10/5. All right. So you make 2 into 2 over 1. You can cross divide here. This 2 becomes, oh, you can't cross divide. Never mind. I was wrong there. You have to do 10 times 2 is 20. So you have 20 over 5 equals h. All right, well, what's 20 over 5? 4. Okay, so it takes 4 hours for the candles to melt down to be the same. Okay, normally you want to put labels on your answers here, but since this was just like type in the answer so the computer can check it for you, well, I didn't want you to do that. So, but remember, in real life, label your answers and make your math meaningful, please, people. All right, well, I pray that you guys have a good day. God bless you all, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.